Rest by Alex Soojung-Kim Pang is an exploration into the intrinsic relationship between work and rest. It's an attack on the toxic cultures we have created of working ridiculously long hours and defining our work by how hard we've worked rather than how productive and efficient we've been. In this video, we're going to be diving into the core concepts of this book, and we're going to be looking at how rest is creativity's partner. Creativity is an essential ingredient in all lines of work in our modern world, and especially as machinery and now technology and AI are taking control of many different jobs and sectors, the creative industry is growing and growing. Therefore, if you're in the line of work that involves thinking or coming up with new ideas, unlocking your full potential and your maximum creativity is going to be essential to you flourishing. This book's clear message is that we cannot sustain work without rest, and that creativity is not only sustained but enhanced through this relationship. Great, but what exactly is rest? Rest can be many different things. It can be those moments throughout your day where you stop working and you let your mind wander for a while. It could be taking a break and going having a snack. It could be going out for a walk or having a nap. Rest can be that moment where you close your laptop for the night and go and chill out. It can be reading a book, it can be watching TV, it can be hanging out with friends and family, it can be going for a run, it can be doing DIY. Rest can be prioritizing your weekends, going on holidays, or even having a sabbatical. Rest can take many different forms, but what is important to note is that rest is a purposeful, intentional break from your work. Some of the ways rest benefits us is it improves our cognitive ability, our self-awareness, our memory, empathy, and moral judgment. It restores us physically and mentally, but it also has one other important function. It enhances our creativity. Within the creative process, right, there are two key concepts: incubation and illumination. Incubation is the process of taking a step back, letting a new, fresh idea sit in your mind and literally incubate, grow, process naturally within your subconscious. It's the start of being creative and coming up with something new and building on it. Illumination is the part of the process which follows, and it is that eureka moment, that bit where the light bulb comes on, where like an idea, a possibility seems to come out of nowhere. It's a real idea emerging. And the thing is, these two key parts of the creative process can only really happen when we rest. You know, we may think that creatives and the people who come up with amazing ideas just stubbornly sit at their desks for hours on end until an idea comes, but generally, research shows that is not how it works. These key moments of incubation and illumination, more often than not, are going to happen during our times of rest. You know, incubation can only happen when we do take that step back, where we let our mind wander and where we let an idea, a thought, a possibility sit and let our subconscious go to work. It's incredible what can happen, what the brain can do, the ideas it can come up with without us even consciously making an effort to think about them. And one of the best examples of a prime time for incubation is walking. You know, this book is just full of examples of famous, particularly, scientists of history, but people who were creators who had to think, and how part of their daily routine, both to stay healthy and creative, was to go on walks. Firstly, these walks would be key moments of rest away from their work, but they'd also be key moments of incubation, letting the subconscious work, and then those moments of illumination. You know, if you want to take anything away from this, go for a walk daily. Don't listen to music. Don't fill your mind with stuff. Just let your mind wander. Enjoy the walk, because that is what so many great thinkers and creatives have done and still do. Another really interesting concept and piece of advice given in this book that is again practiced by real people is this idea of when you're going good, stop. And so I want to explain this with an example. Let's say you're a writer. This could be you, professional author. This could be you're a blogger, or simply you're writing uni essays or something like that. The concept is to stop while it's going well. And so in this example, it might be that, you've got your next paragraph, you've got your next section planned out, you have momentum, it's going well, but the advice would be, when you know what you still want to write, stop there. And so this may seem irrational, this may seem like, why the heck would I stop when I've got momentum? But the answer is incubation and illumination. If you stop your work for the day, right, and you go into your rest where you have no ideas, you have no idea where you're heading next, there's nothing for you to sit in your mind, to incubate, nothing for your subconscious to kick into, then that incubation and illumination isn't going to happen. Whereas if you stop with ideas, if you know where you're headed, that means during your rest time, that incubation can happen, right? That ideas, those things can sit in your subconscious and it can come up with more ideas, right? It can have those moments of illumination. So by the time you sit down the next day to write, you might have even more of a direction to where you're going. Plus, there's nothing worse than sitting down with nothing to write, not knowing where to go. It actually allows you and allows your creative flow to continue day by day. So there's some advice on how to boost your creativity. But now let's look at what actually can rest look like in its different forms. I think there's a real big misunderstanding, and this is what this book tries to clarify about what rest is. I think often when we think about rest, we think about mindlessly sitting down, doing something inactive. For example, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with watching TV, but that would be a great example. When people think of rest, they think of an evening on the sofa, just binging TV. And this may be one form of rest, but actually this book argues there are loads of different forms, and that rest doesn't have to be mindless or inactive. We can still restore our bodies, rest our minds, and allow incubation and illumination to happen while we're doing active physical things. And actually, the active forms of rest, the purposeful forms of rest, are often the ones that have the biggest impact on increasing our creativity. So first off, it is really, really important to acknowledge and recognize the link between exercise and creativity. Whether it's famous scientists of the past going for their daily walks, or whether it's the modern CEO who stays in shape, who gets up early to work out, to run, to do all that kind of stuff, there is a clear scientific research link between exercise and creativity. And just to emphasize this point, here's a quote straight from the book. Even though it doesn't directly use muscle power, intellectual and professional labor is physically challenging. Staying focused for hours at a time, switching attention from research to administration, moving from surgical theatre to meeting room, this takes stamina. Likewise, it's valuable for helping deal with the pressures and disappointments of professional life. It helps you live a longer, healthier life, and it helps you maintain your intellectual edge and creative powers for more of your life. That is straight from the words of Pang, and I think it speaks for itself. That isn't just a quote that comes out of nowhere. If you read this book, that is a well-researched, constructed, backed up piece of information endorsing the fact that exercise is so good, not just to keep us healthy, but to stimulate and enhance our work and creativity. As he says, physical exercise is not only a great way to distance ourselves from our work, to look after our bodies, but also to build up stamina that can help us in all areas of life. The second example of active rest is deep play. And so deep play is really interesting because it doesn't just have to be physical, but there's something about it being mentally absorbing. This is a type of rest where you're actively engaging in something that is really stimulating. This could be hobbies like, you want to write fiction in your spare time, or whether you love building cars from scratch, or whether you're musical and you are pursuing, mastering an instrument. These are all mentally absorbing forms of deep play and active rest. What's great about deep play is that often we can use similar skills that we use in our workplace, in our work setting, but in something completely different that is detached in a different capacity, but also because of that, we're enhancing and honing those skills, but we're also allowing our mind to wander again from work, allowing incubation and illumination. And this type of rest, deep play, is especially useful for those of you who can't sit still, whose worst nightmare is an evening in watching TV, because it shows that you can rest your mind physically and mentally, but also stimulate creativity and grow your skills. And so fundamentally what this book shows and argues is that rest is really important, and that it's not its own isolated thing, but it is incredibly linked to creativity. And to finish, in the words of Pang, rest is not something that the world gives us. It's never been a gift. It's never been something you do when you've finished everything else. If you want rest, you have to take it. You have to resist the lure of busyness, make time for rest, take it seriously, and protect it from a world that is intent on stealing it. If you have enjoyed this video, please consider dropping a like, subscribing to my channel, sharing this with friends and family who you think could learn from this. Thank you so much for watching this video. I've been Ash Porter, and I'll see you next time.